Very much, Peter. My name is Bartosz Majewski, and I would like to provide you with some value. The thing is that it might be a case that I know a few things about turning leads into conversations. However, I don't want to focus only on that. So if you want to talk about any topic when it comes to marketing or sales, feel free to engage me via chat because I feel that the most value I can provide to you is through Q&A. However, to inspire you to provide me with a good question, I will show you some examples of what I think is a good follow up. So, first of all, my job is kind of hard because I have to compete for your attention with your smartphones and with every other channel that you are suffocating with other messages. So, why listen to me at all? So first of all, it might be the case that I know something about sales because over the course of 100 months, because actually January is my 100th month, I've generated over $5 million in business. I don't know it's that big or not. In Poland, it's quite significant. I'm also a consultant. If you want to know more, find me on LinkedIn. And please forgive me because English is not my native language. However, I'm really trying hard. So let me go into the topic of today's presentation for starters. So first of all, like, don't be mad at me, but your client's experience has to be the best when it comes to every touch point that they touch before you actually follow up with them. So let me give you some examples. First example would be that your website have to be actually top notch. When it comes to top notch, I mean that you have to have testimonials, you have to have case studies, you have to have quite actually important stuff when it comes to, for example, decent usability when it comes to your your communication form. Also, whoa. Hopefully, yeah, okay. A little bit breakdown, sorry about that. So when your experience when it comes to the beginning is not as good, you need to focus on the fact that you have to gather relevant data points. So what kind of data points do you need to have when it comes to follow-ups? By data points, I mean simple stuff that helps you follow up with them in a contextual way. So let me get into channels then before I will get to those. So first of all, usually, and that's not always, but usually, we don't use, when it comes to follow-upping with our clients, channels that are considered private ones. For example, that might be Facebook, that might be Snapchat or Instagram direct message module. Twitter is a little bit different though, because it's considered both private and professional. Of course, cell phones and emails are all good. Don't forget about office phones, Skypes, and LinkedIns. Actually, we use all of the 5 that are not crossed out. So I encourage everyone to do the same unless your clients are not on LinkedIn or unless your clients are not contacting you through Skype or, for example, GoToMeeting. So that's when it comes to channels, and that's critical, really important. Then you have to be aware of the fact that there is a trade-off when it comes to follow-upping with clients. And that's obviously a 2x2 matrix, and every consultant has its own, so that's mine. So let me explain what I mean by that. There's a trade-off, so you can spend like an hour on one follow-up to be really personalized and really detailed in it if you have the context, if you have the data points, or you can spend 30 seconds by sending a batch of templated emails to, for example, 100 recipients. And there's going to be a great difference between those two, both in times that you've spent per one follow-up, but as well in the conversion rate on positive replies you get. So basically, usually the more detailed and personalized you get, the better you are converting. There are exceptions, however, usually that's the case. So Over time, those 4 dots that you are seeing in front of you indicate how far in the pipeline your client has gone. So for example, if you are just outreaching prospects through cold emails, you shouldn't actually spend that much time because they're not that valuable yet. However, you don't have data points as well. So it's, even if you would like to be contextual, or you can contextualize against is, for example, their public presence, such as blog posts, such as webinars, things of that nature. However, you can, for example, know possibly what's really important this quarter for them, or you can't know what's important for them this month, or you can't know what kind of issues do they have currently. That's very different on latter stages. So if they're not showing up on a conference call, that's actually not a great data point. However, it still works because you can send them a follow-up saying, hey, you should be on a conference call, or you can call them regarding that issue 3 minutes after they should be. And they usually will respond. And here, not context is important, not data points. What is important, though, is the fact that you should be really fast. Then you have clients that are unresponsive after receiving a conference call from you, in which hopefully you've asked some right questions. Right questions are: what's your problem? What are you dealing with these days? What's the challenge? What's the decision-making process? Why did you decide to contact us, or why did you decide to respond to our cold email or cold call? So when they are unresponsive, you can remind them of what they told you. So for example, look, I know that Q1 is just beginning, but you've mentioned that you need to really increase sales in Q1. So we need to act on it fast. Why don't you give me a call, yada, yada, yada. And then you have unresponsive clients that are not responding after you've actually sent them the agreement to sign, which are quite tricky because they might be lost interest. So you need to follow up with them really hard, but also with a perception that they might be intimidated by your follow-ups. So both be hard and as well sensitive. You need to know where to follow up hard with them. Okay, so how to manage it? It's really, really simple. First, to solve any problem, you have to know that there is one. Second, know that since the leads get more valuable over time, you can and should be more personalized and detailed later. And as well, you should spend more time on follow-ups when it comes to your clients in later stages of the pipeline. And of course, use data points. However, the only way to use data points while handling a decent volume of leads is to use CRM diligently, let's say, because that's the only way to remember things. Okay, so now let's go to the really, really nice meat that I've prepared for you. However, I need to warn you. There's a decent size of audience that already is following decent tactics that I'm providing them with. So you can't apply those concepts directly. I should actually inspire you instead of instruct you. So don't use those follow-ups, and don't do that for your own good, because they become really commoditized really fast. So that should be an inspiration and just examples of how to do it, and not an instruction. Because if you will do it as I'm showing you to, you will actually fail when you use this approach directly. Okay, so let's go directly into examples. So, for example, our client is unresponsive for the third time.
Yeah,
So in
interrupt,
first,
Bartosz.
sorry.
There is a presentation offline.
For example, our client is unresponsive.
Okay, and we are now back. Okay, let's continue.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you. Okay, so let me get into examples. Example one would be a situation in which we've sent a client a cold email and they are unresponsive for the third time. Example, the first was in day 1, the second was in day 4, and the third is on the day 8th. So I would like to point out a couple of details. One, basically 1, 2, 3, 4 is really easy to do. However, we've twisted up a little bit, just using songs that are quite familiar and that have titles that might be considered answers. Call me maybe, not right now, we're not going to take it, leave me alone. Uh, what I would like to also point out is a link to a calendar. So sometimes people
May I,
yeah, Peter,
may
yes,
I yes, may I interrupt because
of course.
you should uh, share your screen because there is no presentation to guys.
No presentation. Okay, just give me a sec.
Okay.
Are we there?
Yeah.
We have it? Awesome. Technical issues as
Wait for a
usual.
seconds. Okay.
Yep,
And we are now back.
we're back. Great.
Let's continue.
Great. So there's call to action, of course. Would you like to have a quick Skype call? And there's a justification. So it's really, really critical to justify what you're asking from clients when you are doing that. And actually, any justification is good. Actually, calls are faster than emails. Actually, people don't like back and forth ping pong in their inbox. So they actually mostly, not always, but mostly prefer to have a short, to the point, 10 minutes Skype call or a phone conversation with a salesperson or a product manager that is contacting them. So do that. Let me give you a second example. Second example is, I really like this one actually, because we are using 2 points of context here. One is that during a demo, they told us they like case studies. And two, we know that they are from Norway. Why is that important? Because, and I'm going to butcher it, Med Venlig Hilsen means best regards in Norwich. So we can familiarize the follow-up a little bit with them. It's just a blink of an eye, which basically pleases the client. And the second thing, once we know what are they into, we can provide them with value they prefer. So for example, here are the case studies that we are using to convince our clients to trust us, because they are really generic and they are really numbers driven. You can feel free to check them out on our website. And again, short and to the point. And again, there's a calendar link and there's a decent call to action. Please check my calendar and lock a suitable time. Definitely check the Norwegian ending, because you should personalize your cold emails, and not only cold emails, like every one of your emails, as much as you can, if it's scalable. And if it's not, you should still personalize them, however, for the 20% of your best clients. Again, I bet the tone of you has the same issue, meaning clients that tell you to contact you in January. Like, not right now, we don't have the budget in this year. Our sales team had, I think, 300 to 400 leads that told them over time to come back in January. So they're pretty busy with follow-ups with them. That's just one follow-up, Leo, with a champagne glass that everyone is familiar with, since it's just after the New Year's Eve. And obviously we're raising toast for the future cooperation. Again, calendar, again, talk with me, again, few minutes. So there are quite a lot of commonalities when it comes to those follow-ups. However, we try to approach every client with a little bit different context. Okay, let's proceed. Here's a nice one. Actually, that's a GIF with a creature that is actually, from what I know, because I'm not a gamer, well known to gamers. And the GIF is saying the battle is sure to be long, so we need to prepare for it. And of course, again, there's a little bit data point for our clients that builds credibility that we've did business with over 600 companies from 35 countries. And since we know that our clients develop games, he's more likely to respond to a GIF from a game than a GIF from something else or a picture. And since we know that they are doing their business globally, then they probably will appreciate a partner who does business globally as well. What else? Let me give you more examples because I know the audience loves it. So you need to listen to your clients, and it's such a cliche, I know that, but I do mystery calls, mystery shopping calls to sales teams, and on and on and on. I find that they don't actually take notes. They don't actually listen to their client when he's saying what's relevant for them. So if our client tells us that uh, innovation really matters to them, we basically paraphrased his words and came back as a first sentence by letting them know that, hey, we have that in common. We're also quite innovative. We understand the meaning of innovation. You should definitely proceed the same. However, it won't matter if you won't make notes into your CRM about how your clients perceive the world, what is actually valuable to them. Another example. So more and more time, especially in the tech industry, we find that there is no such thing as one decision maker. The CEO has multiple decision influencers, even if he is actually the one who is spending the money as the only person in the company, which is quite common when it comes to small or medium-sized organizations. So if they are actually telling us, hey, I need to confront this with my coworker, I need to confront this with my CFO, with my lawyer, things of that nature, we let them do it, and we ask them to do it by X. By X, I mean by five days from now, 7 days from now, 2 weeks from now, something like that. We agree on a date, and then we follow up with them when they actually told us they will do something. Because that way we can exercise an obligation. We don't have we're not annoying like, hey, I'm coming back for fourth time. Did you actually talk to your CEO already? That's not converting. That's not nice. That's not professional. You should always have a reason to call your clients. The best reasons are the ones that they give you. And even if you don't have a reason to come back to them given from them, you can actually manufacture one. Like my favorite way was coming back to the client, letting know that we're growing. We've just entered 3 more countries. We've just hired 50 more people. We've just closed a VC round, things of that nature. Clients actually, when they know that you are growing, when things go right, when you are doing good work, which can be resembled through case studies, they will want to hear that. And that's a great reason to follow up with them. Again, you should use your CRM when it comes to informing your clients. I, for example, have a tab in my CRM that indicates come back to those clients when you will have new case study. And I always do. And I always do. And you should too. Now, that's a tricky one because sometimes clients inform us that they actually don't want to they actually don't want to receive emails from us. So we then, of course, not let them go because that would be a waste. We, of course, contact them through email, but just to let them know that we would like to stop emailing them, and we try to convert them into phone calls. So it's quite a tricky technique. However, it's really working well. And again, calendar. By the way, we use app that is called Calendly or Appointly, and you should absolutely check them out. It's an awesome time saver. Then there is a point in which we are running out of ideas. Like we've tried everything: case studies, building trust, providing value, getting into context, contextualizing the argument. We've done all that. So we basically try to win them over and win their attention and win their sympathy by hitting them in an emotional place, by taking them into an emotional journey, let's say, by basically showing them a meme that is really well known in the internet community, such as 9gag, and basically making them a little bit laugh, a little bit come back to the moment where they seen the movie, and it's converting really, really well to go on a little bit more emotional side of things. However, sometimes, unfortunately, things have to break up, and that is called a breakup email. Uh, and basically, it's the email that is one of the best converting. We have different version of breakup emails, and you should too. But it's basically something that tells them, okay, we've tried 8 times to follow up with you. I'm afraid we are running out of ideas. I'm afraid you're not really interested. Let me know if that changes. And why is that? Why do we do that? For two reasons. One, actually, when your follow ups are really good, people don't respond. Some people don't respond because they are curious on the fact what will be your next idea when it comes to follow ups. That happens quite a lot to us. And the second reason is that sometimes people come back to us after this email, after even many months. I think the record of the company right now is client coming back after a breakup email after 18 months. And I'm not even joking. It's a true number. Um, and when it comes to those that were just waiting for the next follow-up because they were curious, they wanted to copy your tactic or something like that, those are the clients that usually convert very fast because they are already impressed by your sales technique and they are probably already into what are you selling. If they weren't, then they would probably keep not responding. um, just one slide of digression about CRMs, because this is actually quite critical when it comes to follow-ups in general. So the truth is that what I'm going to say is not original, but I don't want to be original. I want to be effective in my next slide. The thing is that you need to document everything, because once you will hit the decent volume, in my experience, it's 60 to 80 new conversations per month, you will forget absolutely everything. Like, remember that client from 3 months that you've talked to and they didn't respond it, and then you follow up with them and they didn't respond it again? No, you don't. No, you don't know what they told you on a demo. You don't know if they actually appeared on time. You don't know all that because you forgot. And it's not. I'm not saying that to make you feel bad. I'm trying to just tell you that you should document everything. And the joke is that you should just know you should. However, you have all those excuses like I don't have time. Find time, because otherwise you will be wasting leads which will otherwise converted. However, you didn't documented the data points that could provide you with information that leads to better follow-ups, because it's all about information. So, end of my digression. I'm sorry. Just had to say it because as a consultant, I see sales teams that are forgetting this on and on and on and on. And it's super important. It's actually one of the most relevant things in my presentation, in my opinion. Then, cadence is super important. Uh, I will give you an example of how a cadence, which means how many emails, how many calls, when, etc., you can use. And obviously, the patience is again a cliche. However, every step of the way, people are converting. Obviously, the day one is the most critical, so you should be as fast as you can. However, it usually looks like this. Day one, once you have a positive response, then you basically call them if you have the number, and if they don't respond, you leave a voicemail or you send an SMS. Both voicemail and SMS should be templated. So you should always leave the same one, because that way over time you will optimize them and basically get better. If you will leave every voicemail and send every SMS in a different way, you won't be able to measure what performs and what doesn't. Then if they don't get your call, Then email them back saying, hey, thank you for the response. I tried to call them or something like, tried to call you, sorry about that, or something like that. And then try to call them again after 4 hours because they might be on a meeting, unable to call you back. Usually those two calls are the most effective in the pipelines I review. Then on day two, you should basically do the same. However, without the call after 4 hours. Then give them 2 days of rest. And again, follow up them via call, leave an SMS or voicemail. But this time, tweak a little bit LinkedIn into it if you have a premium account or you have still valid credits. It's actually quite a good communication channel when it comes to follow-ups to clients that already responded. Or in fact, in some industries, we see that clients who didn't respond to LinkedIn very well as well. Then 2 more days off when it comes to the client and call them again. But this time, if they don't respond, call them through their office number. And remember, it's not a cold call. So you will be much more effective if you know the name and the surname and the context of the response that you've already got from the client. That way, you will be able to go through, not through, sorry about that, past the gatekeeper much more efficiently and much more at scale, let's say, than when it comes to cold calls where you don't actually know the email, where you don't actually know the issue, where you don't actually know the surname and the name of the decision maker. And day 13, the unlucky day of the breakup email. And that's just an example cadence. Remember about the cat and mouse dynamics. If everyone will start follow-upping with clients after 4 hours in the day one, and then after day four, they tweaking the LinkedIn, it will stop being effective. That's why you have to stay ahead of the curve, and that's why you need to experiment and over time kick out of the sales process things that don't work or worked in the past. However, they don't work right now. In the end, it's cat and mouse. What else? Yeah, that's a super important thing. Culture matters, like period. That's why hiring natives is such a good idea. They are usually a little bit more expensive, especially if you want them to work outside of their country, but it's usually worth it, especially if you have a lot of leads from the country. So why is it important? Because natives grew up in the culture and they know the language as nobody else does. And that is important because sales and marketing is usually not about logic. It's not about arguments. It's not about numbers. It's usually about how we make our customers feel through the logic, through the numbers, through arguments, through all that. However, in the end, emotion matters. And you know what really prevents people from becoming emotional? When they have to communicate in a language they know as a second, third, fourth one. If they don't communicate with you in a language that is first one to them, in a language they feel in, they will become dramatically more logical. And that's bad for sales and marketing. And again, there are different habits when it comes to consumers, when it comes to humor, when it comes to idioms. You should take that under consideration. But how would you know? Now, exactly, you should ask natives, even if you're not hiring them, actually asking your client from Sweden on what's appropriate and what's not when it comes to those emails, you will convert on a dramatically better scale. You should ask your clients if you have them already. If you don't, you should have from the industry like, hey, I'm thinking about sending this email. What do you think? And let's just let them talk and make some notes. Obviously, we like shuffle with officiality and being kind to some point. Some countries prefer official communications like dear sir, things like that. Or some industries, startups exactly, is the great example. prefer to be direct, like hello, hi, etc. Obviously, we don't use beer and vodka gifts for Russia. However, it's not only Russia. It's every country has some kind of weak spot that is annoying them, and we need to actually really be careful about making someone annoyed, making someone feel bad because we've sent an email with inappropriate content. For example, and it can be really subtle. For example, using the word assume in Netherlands, I was really surprised about it, is quite inappropriate because Netherlands is a really open country that in which assuming is considering quite rude. I was surprised. But it's actually a thing there, and that's why we don't use assume in Netherlands. Um, yeah. So the last thing is that not everywhere the gender status is the same. So in some cultures, women convert better. In some cultures, women convert not as good as men. It's not fun to talk about it, but it's just a fact, and we need to take that under consideration since the main goal here is to make revenue, to make sales, to make conversations. So culture matters dramatically. And if you can do something, maybe don't hire a native at first, but definitely talk to your clients. That will be a great first step to adjusting your follow-up strategy when it comes to number of follow-ups, when it comes to cultural relevance, when it comes to arguments and words. And again, how to follow up after you screwed something. Things happen all the time. So we need to apologize. We need to take a stand and basically let the client know that we are sorry. So just two rules. First, be high touch. So be close. Like an email saying, I'm sorry, is not good enough. You should call them, you should meet them, you should Skype them and say in person, I'm sorry, it's my it's not it's my fault, it's my responsibility, even if it's not. Like there's this book by Jocko Willink that it's called Extreme Ownership, and it applies to sales dramatically. Take responsibility of the screw ups because that way you will actually convert better. For example, if you will misspell client's name, take responsibility. If you will send the wrong email to wrong country, take responsibility. I promise you, it will convert dramatically better than if you would say, oh no, that's not me, an intern did it. I think that there's some police coming up. I don't think that's for me. So I'm sorry about that. Now, Q&A time. Uh, if, of course, you use secret passwords, don't tell me, don't tell my people I told you. You'll get a $100 discount from Right Hello. And the offer is valid until the end of January. And now let's get to Q&A. Hope that you have a ton of questions when it comes to chat.
Okay, thank you, Bartosz, for the presentation. I will definitely do what you advise. I hope you do the same. As Bartosz said, we will move now to question answer session. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can write it on the chat. If you have any questions about code mailing, I think the Bartosz is one of the most experienced person in the Europe about code mailing, so he could advise you a lot.
No one wants to be first, I think.
Um,
about advert in the Netherlands?
Sorry, can you repeat? Peter?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
could you
Uh,
repeat the question?
Juan is asking about if you have any advice to improve conversion in the Netherlands.
Yeah, definitely, I do. So one, if you have clients in Netherlands, then great. It will become much easier because then you can do two things. One, you can add data points to your emails with follow-ups. For example, you can write a testimonial with that client, or you can write a case study of the value presenting in numbers, in sales, in revenue, in savings, in whatever you are offering that you've provided to the client, and include that in the follow-ups that you are following with the Netherlands. So that would be the one. Second would be actually if you are in the area that's not a huge country, then target clients city by city by letting them know that you are coming over and you would love to buy them coffee, because that actually converts on a higher scale. And the reason for that is really simple. Robots don't ask people for coffee. And if someone is, for example, from the other side of the world, like China or India, they won't be actually coming to Netherlands anytime soon. So that will convert on a higher percentage. If you are trying to convert your first client, then be upfront about it. Like, you're not fooling anyone when it comes to closing your first client in any country. So telling them, hey, we are looking for our first client in Netherlands. You seem like our client XYZ from country ABC. You're really similar. We will provide you with the best care, like CEO will shine your shoes, whatever, because we are desperate to find our first Netherlands client. So that would be my advice about that. If you would provide me with a little bit more context when it comes to your situation in Denmark, like what you're selling, do you have a footprint already, do you have first clients, then I will be happy to go into more detail if you want.
Okay, going to the next question, Alvaro is asking if Right Hello has any law firms as a clients, as a customers.
What kind of firms?
Law,
Oh, law. Yes,
law.
we do actually. We do have law firms. However, they are very specifically targeting verticals. So let me give you some examples. There are law firms that are quite general, like serving, for example, Fortune 500 companies or only publicly traded companies. However, we don't work with those. We work with clients that are very niche oriented. So, for example, only startups or only companies that have patents or only companies that have, I don't know, real estate practices, things of that nature. If you have a focus on one vertical in one country, or even better, in multiple countries, then definitely we will be able to help.
Okay, and thanks for this answer, Bartosz. And going to the next question is Elena asking, simple question: what is cold mailing?
Great question. Thank you for that one. So cold mailing is really simple. Everyone sends emails, right? However, since there is quite a lot of proliferation of free data, like free data, maybe not, but data in the internet, everyone has a Facebook account, Twitter account, LinkedIn account, and so on. There is a lot of data about business decision makers flowing around. So, for example, if we know that my name is Bartosz and my surname is Majewski, and I work at Right Hello, and that Right Hello has righthello.com domain, then you know that my email is one of 63 combinations, like Bartosz at righthello.com or bmajewski righthello.com or bartosz.majewski at righthello.com, and so on and so on. One of those combinations is actually valid. You obviously know my email because it's the right bottom of the presentation. However, if you wouldn't, you can approach me if I would be similar to your clients, like sales directors from startups from Poland, for example, and let me know, hey, I have this great solution XYZ for you. I want to talk about it, and why don't we have a call for 15 minutes? That's usually how the cold mailing works. So in simply, it's sending email to a person that you don't know but wish to know with some kind of value that might be interesting for them. And basically, it's a sales technique.
Great. So maybe I will go to the next question because I see there is a lot of coming.
Great, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, Alexander is asking about advice about first about cold mailing, some tricks.
Tricks. Okay, so tricks are really simple. Like, first of all, beware of the cat and mouse dynamics. And second of all, avoid the articles that you read on the internet. Because once someone that is high profile blogger, when it comes to really big blogs about marketing or sales, will tell you this is the way to do cold mailing, immediately the technique stops working. Why? Because everyone started to do it. So whatever trick I will tell you will stop working immediately, because not only you will do it, everyone will do it. So that's why I can't answer that question. However, let me give you a little bit different advice. Test everything that you will came up with, and on top of that, once you know a trick that works, never give it up until it actually stops working.
Okay, uh, great advice. Uh, maybe there is a question about cold mailing for startups. Peter is asking if you can suggest for a smart startup how to connect to big firms, big corporation for product distribution. Should they pitch directly at the first mail, hoping for the feedback, or something else?
Like, let me go on a contrary here. Most of the times, you shouldn't. Really, because let me get into the details. Like, let's say that a corporation that you want to approach has $100 million in revenue, or a billion, or 10, like some grandiose number. What is actually the reason for them to sell your product? Let's say that you will be really successful in startup world and have 1 million in revenue in first year. That's 1% of the revenue if they're a $100 million company. That's not a lot. So what I would do though is approach them through an corporate incubator, because there's people who are actually in charge of, and they have KPIs. Who those people in corporate incubators, they have KPIs that should help you because your interest is aligned with them. They are scouting for startups for their corporation to work with. So I don't think that actually cold email is the right channel when it comes to startups and corporations. What you should do, though, is find someone in the corporation, like an innovation manager or someone like that, who is actually actively seeking the startups to work with through an incubator, or if not an incubator, they are quite commonly present on startup events. So you should monitor startups events in your country, in your city, if you are in a startup hub. And once you will find someone from a corporate accelerator that will be on an event that you are participating in, then you should definitely cold email them. However, I wouldn't definitely cold email Fortune 500 executives while pitching your startups. They're not VCs. They're not in the business of, hey, why don't we distribute a product that is actually in the prototype phase and doesn't really work yet. So I would be on a contrary on this one.
Okay, nice. Going to the next question, I'm thinking we have time for five more questions. Masvidas is asking, why are you telling that Facebook is not good enough for communication?
No, no, no. Masvidas, my point is that it's not that it's not good enough. It's great. I use Messenger all the time. I think I'm like half addicted to it. Uh, my only thing is that I've gotten quite a lot of negative response, percentage-wise, a lot more than in other channels. That I was trying to follow up with clients through Facebook. So my only thing about Facebook is when it comes to business follow-ups. And actually, in Poland, in basically the whole CE region, it's quite more tolerated than everywhere else. In US, in UK, from my experience, not so much. So it's not the fact that I have something against Facebook or Messenger. I really love it. The thing is that you should beware of being mixing the private and business context when it comes to that. However, feel free to experiment. I might be wrong.
Okay. So, going to the next question. Um, do you have an do you have any anecdote about code mailing that didn't go well?
How much time do we have, Peter? Yes, of course I do. So my favorite one was when we've emailed a top executive from a really well-known startup hub, and it was like a joke. We've had a slow day in the office, and we've tried to come up with the most ridiculous email address, like, "Hey, what's the email to the Pope?" or to prime ministers, or things of that nature, like absurd questions. And we actually find all of them. And the joke was to like email a CTO from a Fortune 500 company because clients were playing that game with us on that day as well. And we basically emailed the CTO of a big company, and they actually got the meeting, and they were late. So I mean, it's a super fun joke because it's actually worked out. However, it totally didn't. So imagine that you are like, I don't know, you're hooking up with a president of GE, and you're actually missing the plane. Like, what a fuck up.
Okay. Okay. Go to the next questions, maybe. Uh, if you have any advice for guys who are providing offshore company information services, do you have any advice for social media promotion and cold mailing?
Yes. First of all, approach through cold emails clients that are similar to clients you already have. So if you have clients in India, go India. If you have clients in UK, go UK. Second of all, start with your city. If every company in your city hasn't got like a marketing thing from you, like cold email, LinkedIn mail, whatever, you should start there because the chance of getting a coffee with them is greater than anywhere else in your city. The third one would be distribute relevant for your clients content in social media. Uh, the way I see it, everyone in social media are sell. Buy my shit, buy my book, buy my software, things of that nature. Why don't you actually focus on something relevant to your client that, for example, they told you about? Hey, I have this problem with X. So why don't you write a blog post and then distribute in social media about how to solve problem X for zero money? And don't expect anything for it. If you will do it 10 times, money will come.
Okay, Thank you, Bartosz, for this answer. I'm thinking that we have time for two other questions.
Splendid.
So don't be shy and just write in on the chat.
I'm really trying to not be shy.
So if you have any other question, just write this on the chat.
Yep.
Okay, Raivara is asking that there are small niche retail business in Lithuania, and they are retargeting manually up to 10 emails per week. Any advice for better conversions?
I don't know what your conversion is. However, I think that basically the percentage is less relevant than the absolute number. So let's say that you are sending the best cold emails the world has ever seen. Let's say that you have 20% of positive response rate. So out of 10, that's two. That's not good enough. You should not sell, but send at least 5, 10 times more, 5 to 10 times more at least. And that is if you have at least 10% positive response rate, because if you don't, you will basically end up short anyway. So you need to increase the scale, which means you need to work harder at the campaign. You need to get more data. So that's my tip. Like, don't focus on conversion when you're just sending 10 emails. Focus on conversion when you're sending 50. And oh, by the way, when you will have greater numbers, you will be able to assess quicker, because you will have actually a more relevant sample of the campaign. It's not statistically relevant, obviously. However, it's still more relevant than 10. Once you are in doubt, go with volume. Then things will become really, really clear. And on top of that, once you will hit a decent volume, you will be able to optimize and test much more efficiently.
Okay, and going to the one of the last question, maybe. Kasia is asking about any differences in turning leads into conversation between B2B and B2C.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for that question, Kasia. I'm not an expert in B2C, I'll tell you up front. However, from my experience in B2C, which is quite old and maybe a little bit out of date, usually the size of a transaction is smaller, besides maybe like cars and real estates. Um, when it comes to those, there probably are different tactics. But when it comes to conversations in B2C, you need to calculate what the cost of a conversation is from a sales hourly rate standpoint. So, for example, if you are competing on a transaction that is, let's say, $250, you can't spend $50 on customer service. You need to optimize that and make it lower. So the goal of generating conversations is not always a good one when it comes to B2C. When it comes to B2B, in transactions that are over $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, it's much more attractive when it comes to ROI standpoint. So I would start with one, calculate your cost in B2C, in B2B as well, but the math will probably be more in favor of B2B. So that would be one. Two, when it comes to B2C, there are more options. Like if you are talking, for example, about e-commerce or in fashion or any other crowded market, there are usually tens, if not hundreds of options for your client. So whenever the market is really crowded, you need to either have a strong differentiator like a brand, which is in B2C very relevant, in B2B not as much. Or you need to be faster. Usually the first one who will get to the customer and tell through a conversation their story about their company, their market, the problems they are solving, and the way they are solving the problem of a client, the value they're providing, all that wins, because they will be able to plant a seed in the client's mind that will basically grow very fast, faster than any other seed that their competitions that will come a little bit later plant. When it comes to those two examples, cars and real estates, conversations are usually the way to go. However, the killer application, because I've worked as a financial advisor a while ago through internet, back then was basically a wow effect where a really competent advisor called you back in 2 minutes and was at your service 2 minutes after you wanted that. It was like on-demand financial service that was a really great effect on clients' happiness because we were so fast. And when after, for example, 2 days, a consultant from a call center called the client and wanted to schedule a meeting, they were already past the point of making a decision who to do business with. So be fast, no matter if it's B2B or B2C.
Thanks, Bartosz, for this. I think we'll go with to the last question. They are already on the chat. First is Darius asking if you have any suggestions for communicating with private clients.
What are private clients?
Probably this is individuals. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the end, people are really simple. Like, first, give a fuck. Like, the amount of salespeople that like don't really care about their clients is astonishing. Like, people not stepping in hard situations, people being dishonest, not being transparent to their clients, not being responsible. So first, do that. Then be faster than others. Three, be willing to share more knowledge that are valuable to your clients than anyone else. So for example, if you are selling wine, like be the biggest wine expert and actually tell them when they are trying to buy shitty wine that the wine is shitty and they should buy another bottle. Like, it's that simple. If you are selling cars, don't sell cars that are broken. If you are selling real estate, sell real estate that is not shitty. Simple stuff. Like, when it comes to private clients and not companies where you have different dynamics and the CFO agenda is different than CEO, is different than sales director, is different than sales rep, it's actually quite simple. Like, you need to figure out what makes clients happy, which is not hard. Just ask the right question, like what are you after, what is important, things of that nature, and then provide them with value up front. Like, I don't know, for example, if you are selling law services to people who recently lost somebody and are trying to get insurance, like, hire in your sales team people that are really empathetic, because people after they've lost somebody are really fragile. So like things of that nature, like just ask your clients on their way out, once they've paid you or not paid you as well, what was important, what could we do better, and then basically do that. Listen to your clients, provide them with value, and then listen to some more and provide them with some more, and over time you will win. It's not super complicated. It's not that you don't know that. It's that you don't do it as much as you should.
Okay, thanks, Bartosz. So maybe going to the really the last question. Yeah, grand final. Alexander is asking if you have any solution offer that can help their business.
Sorry, could you repeat, Peter?
If you have, you have, yeah, is what is right hello solution that can help businesses?
Oh yeah, so grand finale this. So
Yeah.
right hello is a foot in the door. So you can think of us of a combination of database, psychological and sales knowledge that leads to conversations with right people inside right companies. And whatever the right people inside right companies for you are, we can probably target them. And we can send them emails on your behalf being completely invisible. And that will lead to the fact that your sales team will actually be able to talk to people that are relevant, that are interested in your business, that are interested in you, and that will bring you transactions and money. And the best recommendation is basically the fact that we are 3 years old and we're 95 of a team, attracted great VC money and more than 600 clients from 33 from 33 countries. So forgive me for not being humble on the last question. However, it might be the case that we are doing something right.